Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Calls. This is the 2025 Ryder Cup Research and Data Show. A very special week here at Calls. We're going to do two shows this week for the Ryder Cup. The aforementioned Research and Data. And then Thursday night, I have a very special, very fun show for you all where I will take the role of Luke Donald and Keegan Bradley, and I will give you what I would do if I were in their shoes, the pairings that I would have, go through each format, all of that. It should be a fun show Thursday. It should be a fun show tonight as we dig into a lot of the data, but Thursday night will be a lot of fun. See how much I get right and wrong, and of course the predictions and all of that will come Thursday night, and a very special picks challenge between Gabe and I. But I'll have more of that throughout the evening. So I'm excited. It's one of the most exciting weeks in golf. The Ryder Cup between the U.S. and the Europeans. Quite excited, so let's just get into it, shall we? All statistics provided tonight and every night are from FantasyNational.com. It is the best golf analytic tool out there for your money. Go check out FantasyNational.com. You will not regret it. In the description of the video, there are links to all the social media. First off, my X and Instagram, where normally I post research regarding the tournament of that week, some course info, all of that. Didn't do anything for the Ryder Cup, but that will return for the rest of the FedEx Fall portion of the slate for the PGA Tour. So if you want to see the weekly research that I do on the PGA Tour, give me a follow at your preferred social media site. X is also where I place my weekly betting cards and top player usage in the DFS contests I play. That comes out every Wednesday after the DFS Tactics show. Not going to do anything for the Ryder Cup this week. I'm just going to purely be a fan. So I'm not going to play any DFS this week. I'm not going to make any wagers regarding the Ryder Cup. But normally, during the rest of the PGA Tour season, if you want to see the players that I'm wagering and the players I'm using most often in my lineups, give me a follow over at X. Lastly, for social media, Gabe's handle's in the description. He writes a fantastic article called The Fringe. Can't recommend it enough. He is going to take the fall off, but is still providing his deluxe spreadsheet for the fall, which has his projected ownerships and top values, all of that. So you really are missing out if you're not subscribed to his article. Make sure you're doing that and go show him some support. Follow him over on social media because that is where we place our detailed write-ups for the picks challenge. Again, we're not going to do anything for the fall with the exception of this week. We're going to have some fun. It's going to be an exhibition, much like the Ryder Cup is, but we're going to do something special for the 2025 Ryder Cup and have a picks challenge in that regard. So make sure you're following them over on social media for that. Lastly, we are live. Chat is open. I want to hear from you all. Any and everything Ryder Cup. Would love to hear from you all. Put your thoughts and opinions into chat. Make your voices heard. If you're not able to catch the show live, put your thoughts and opinions into the comments. I'll always get to those as well. Anything you want to talk about Ryder Cup. Maybe you've had a lot of success in whatever wagering endeavors you have been involved in. Maybe your pro core was very, very good. All of the football. I don't play fantasy football myself, but if you have any success with fantasy football, baseball starting to get to the end of the season, perhaps you've had some success in fantasy baseball. Any success you've had, put it in chat or put it in the comments. Would love to be able to shout out members of the community who have success. But we're here for the Ryder Cup, so let's get into it. Let's do the research and dig into the data for the 2025 Ryder Cup. And we are going to start as we always do, generally on a Sunday night, but we're combining two shows this evening. Let me center this camera. We're going to start over at the GCSAA tournament fact sheet for the Ryder Cup. We are at famed Bethpage Black, host of, I believe, 2 U.S. Opens, most recently the 2019 PGA Championship. We are at the Black Course at Bethpage State Park. Very, very demanding course in Farmingdale, New York, on Long Island proper. The course architect, originally an A.W. Tillinghast design, renovated by Reese Jones in 1997. The course, as set up for the Ryder Cup, is going to be a traditional par 70. So 2 par 5s, 4 par 3s, par 35 on each side, 7,350 yards. So pretty long. And that is what some of the challenge regarding Bethpage Black is that it is a very, very long, demanding course, particularly off the tee, but we'll get into that. Traditional par 70 here. The greens, Bent and Poa annua. We've seen this a few times on the PGA Tour. Let me grab my notes here. The 3 usual courses or regular stops on the PGA Tour with Bent and Poa annua, Detroit Golf Club, Silverado, where we were 2 weeks ago for the Pro Tour, TPC River Highlands. There's been a couple of BMW championships on Bent and Poa annua. There's been a few Canadian Opens on Bent and Poa annua. So it is seen somewhat commonly on the PGA Tour. The collars, the approaches, all Rye and Poa. Fairways are Rye and Poa. And then the rough, Rye, Kentucky Bluegrass, and Poa. So a lot of Poa throughout Bethpage Black, at least. The greens, 6,000 square feet. That's probably slightly larger than the average tour size green. Depending on what number you look at, it can be anywhere from probably 5,500 to 6,000 square feet. The true measurement's probably somewhere in between that. So we're looking at roughly average size greens here, but these are some of the most undulated greens, some of the faster greens on the PGA Tour. This is why it has hosted a couple of U.S. Opens, a PGA Championship. Very demanding greens here at Bethpage Black. Not a whole lot of fairway, 30 acres of fairway, and only 30 acres of rough as well. Quite a few bunkers, 76 of them. Only one hole with water in play. That is hole number 8. Some notes here regarding Bethpage Black. A tee has been added on number 1. Fairway bunker was moved on 13. Some fairway widths have been expanded. That is much to the Americans' design. They want to be able to use their perceived strength in driving the golf ball, play American-style golf, lots of driver, wedge, bomb and gouge style. So that is why you see the note here that some fairway widths or several fairway widths have been expanded. Bethpage is the first municipal course to host the Ryder Cup. Bethpage hosted the 2002-2009 U.S. Open, the Barclays, which used to be a playoff event, and then the 2019 PGA Championship, like I mentioned. There are 5 courses technically at Bethpage State Park. Black course is the most famous, the most difficult on the property. That's what we have in terms of a GCSAA tournament fact sheet here. An A.W. Tillinghast design, traditional par 70, long par 70, 2 par 5s, 4 par 3s, Bent and Poa annua greens with some fairways that have been widened, much to the Americans' design to help them or to give them the advantage since they are playing on their home turf. Only one hole with water in play. That is a look at Bethpage Black from the GCSAA. We're now going to go to the Ryder Cup official site. And normally I like to go to something called Pro Visualizer. However, the Pro Visualizer doesn't seem to be running anymore. Apparently the site has been taken over by another outfit. You can see it's a blank page here. It tries to load and it doesn't. So I had to go to the official Ryder Cup site. I'm actually going to try and there we go. Hopefully this is not too small that we can't read, but we're going to get a good idea. I'm not going to play the video on every hole. I'm just wanting to get a decent idea as the course layout. I know some of the holes here, but I'm not truly in tune with the course in full. Probably one of the most famous opening tee shots in major championship golf. An elevated tee here. Hole number 1, par 4, 397. Opening shot from an elevated tee, bend sharply to the right, favoring a very, very high cut, or perhaps even a slice, if you will. Cluster of trees to the right will block any approach from that side, as we can see here. Left side is preferred, but a deep bunker guards the front right of the green. The left side is preferred for a deep bunker that guards the front right of the green up here. Front third of the green, smallest on the course, slopes sharply, and approach shots with too much spin could roll off, so indicating there is a pretty good false front, if you will. So there's a look at hole number 1. Hole 2, another fairly short par 4 at 389. One of only 2 par 4s under 400 yards. The other one being the first, par 4 first. This hole also starts from an elevated tee, features a sharp bend this time to the left. So first hole we had favoring left to right shot shape. This time we're favoring right to left. Most players will go with a long iron or fairway metal, then a short iron to an elevated green that falls off sharply to the left, as much as 10 feet below the putting surface. Right of the green is protected by deep bunkers. So demanding tee shots so far here at Bethpage, especially on the first 2 holes. You definitely can't be far enough right, or you can't be too far right, or you're blocked out by the trees. And then here you have to be pretty precise with an iron or a fairway metal to give yourself the appropriate angle so you don't miss this green left or right, really. Short's not terrible, long's not terrible, just can't be left or right, considering a deep bunker and a steep fall off next to the green on hole 2. Hole 3, our first par 3 on the course at 210. Green is shallow and angled from front right to back left. So front right to back left. Slopes sharply that way. Bunkers on the left side are so deep that players standing in them might only see the top of the flag. This is a severe, there is a severe drop off beyond the green. So as you can see, there's a long and skinny green that slopes severely from here to about here. So interesting design there. Distance control, very, very important. Hole 4, a very short par 5. Par 5, 517. I'll tell you now, this is quite a bit shorter than 2 or 3 of the par 4s here. Just part of the conversion that Bethpage has done for the Ryder Cup. The fairway bends to the left around a cluster of bunkers on this short par 5. Big hitters might opt for a 3-wood to keep the ball from running through the fairway. So if you see here, looks like we could be going somewhat downhill towards the end of the fairway right here. Rest of the hole climbs 50 feet toward a blind green. Cross bunkers are not in play unless someone misses the fairway into thick rough. Elevated green is protected by a series of bunkers, so holding the green will with the second shot is difficult, especially if it's downwind. So, again, other than hole 3, because it's a par 3, and even then you can argue the tee shot is paramount here, especially with distance control. We're looking at a lot of demand off the tee here at Bethpage, especially in the first 4 holes, and that's going to be common throughout the course. Hole 5, par 4, 478, pretty demanding hole. Massive cross bunkers hug the right side of the fairway, but can be carried by longer hitters, i.e. Brooks Koepka when he won the 2019 PGA. The ideal shot is down the right side because trees cover a ridge along the left side. Players must be careful not to go through the fairway. Green is relatively small, elevated, and well bunkered, as you can see in the distance here. Demanding par 4. Hole 6, par 4, 408, straightaway hole with a landing area squeezed by large bunkers, both left and right side of the fairway, then drops some 20 feet. Some might go with driver to get down to the lower portion and leave a short wedge to a small green that's relatively flat, surrounded by bunkers. Risk reward. That's the name of the game for Americans. Do you lay back, give yourself, a full view with your approach shot, or do you hit driver, go down the hill to give yourself a shorter shot but a blind shot? That is the decision to be made on the tee for this hole. Hole 7, par 4, 524 yards, an extremely long, difficult par 4. Par 5 for the public. This converted par 4 requires 2 long shots. Tee shot is fairly straight from here to here. The players are going to be teeing off back here. So here to here. Then the hole turns to the right, although the trees down the right prevent players from cutting off much of the dogleg. The approach will be a long iron to one of the few greens that is not elevated, allowing for a ball to run up, a rarity at Bethpage. A large bunker guards the right side, smaller one on the left. So one of the very, very few greens that the Europeans can employ their ground game, which is generally how you play over in Europe on links-style courses. This is one of the few holes that they might be able to employ that strategy, but this hole requires 2 long and pretty darn precise shots to give a player a birdie opportunity. Hole 8, the other par 3 on the front 9, the only hole with water in play. You see the water guards the front of this par 3. Looks like it's pretty severely sloped in the front, that any ill or mishit balls that land short have a chance to roll back into the water. An elevated tee to a green guarded by a pond, plus large bunkers left and in the back, come into play when the hole is located in the back of the green. There's a steep dune on the right side of the green, right here, as you can see. Front of the green has one of the few penalty areas in front that forces players to carry the tee shot onto the green. The green features a ridge that could serve as a backboard for front hole locations. You just have to be mindful of your spin. But there's hole 8. Hole 9, 460-yard par 4. Looks like it bends decently to the left. So right to left shot shape here, at least off the tee. A new tee was added ahead of the 2009 U.S. Open after it played as one of the easiest holes in 2002. Hole bends to the left with a large bunker complex on the left side of the landing area. You can see that here. Those wanting to play short of the bunker will find a contoured lie in the fairway and have a limited view of the green. 2 deep bunkers protect the front of a relatively flat green. Still pretty undulated, but in relation to the rest of the greens around Bethpage, relatively flat. The start of the back nine. Par 4, 502 yards. Fairly straightaway, seemingly though. Straightaway hole with bunkering down both the right and left sides. A tee shot missing left will find either tall fescue, sprawling bunkers, or grass hollows. The elevated green guarded by bunkers. That's very common around Bethpage. All of these elevated greens, making distance control a premium around Bethpage. Hole 11, 435, pretty straightforward par 4 here, but it is a blind tee shot to a fairway tucked between dunes that should favor the right side, away from the bunkers on the left. So you can see a pretty darn narrow fairway to hit. These dunes apparently block vision from the tee, meaning landing area is blind from the tee box. Green is among the most severe on the course, with a false front that makes anything beyond the hole a difficult putt or chip. Bunkers surround nearly half of the front of the green. You can see just huge amounts of sand and fescue all throughout this hole, but a very, very severe false front that, what did it say, makes anything beyond the hole a difficult putt or chip, in case you get a little too frisky with your up and down attempt. Hole 12, 496 yard par 4. Perhaps the toughest tee shot at Bethpage Black, requiring a drive over cross bunkers to shorten the hole. A landing area toward the right is available for shorter hitters, which would be right around in here. Any drive too straight risks running through the fairway into the rough here. The large green has pronounced undulations. Hole 13, the lone par 5 on the back nine, 608 yards. Despite its length, this is a straightforward hole, possibly reachable in 2 if the course is firm. A large bunker on the left side is in play off the tee, and cross bunkers 30 yards short of the green will penalize shots coming up short. The green slopes moderately from back to front, but the bunker to the right is among the deepest on the course. You can see that there in the picture. There's a look at the par 5 on the back. 14, shortest hole on the course at 161. Tee shot is over a valley to a putting surface that was rebuilt to be wider than it is deep, sloping from back to front and from right to left. So from back right to front left. Back right, sloping to front left, with a shelf on top. Gaping bunkers that tumble toward the valley guard the front of the green. So anything mishit short right is going to be a horrific up and down. There's 14. 15, pretty straightaway par 4 here. Long par 4, it says bends to the left. I would say that's a pretty gradual bend to the left. With the final 180 yards uphill to an elevated green that is protected in front by deep bunkers. Anyone missing the fairway most likely won't reach the green or be able to hold it. The green, one of the most difficult on the course, is 50 feet above the fairway, with 2 tiers that slope from the back left to the front right. Back left to the front right. Very, very severe contoured undulating green. 16, par 4, 539 yards. The other par 5 for the public on the course. This hole starts with an elevated tee shot that drops 60 feet. You can see that from this picture here. Very elevated tee box to a narrow fairway that angles right to left. Hole bends gently that direction. A sprawling bunker sits short and right of the green with another bunker to the left. It is one of the few holes at Bethpage where the putting surface can be seen from the tee box just up here into the distance. Just up in here. 17, penultimate hole, par 3, 179 yards. Perhaps the best par 3 on the course, although nothing fancy. Slightly elevated green, sits 43 yards wide, and is split by a spine through its middle. So right basically through the play button on the video, there is a spine in the middle of this green. Deep bunker guards the front of the green, with other bunkers catching poor shots to the right and long left. So very heavily guarded green. Again, one where distance control is going to be extremely important. The final hole here at Bethpage Black, only 411 yards. The finishing hole presents one of the few birdie opportunities at Bethpage Black. The drive is downhill to a fairway that has been widened and threads through an enormous cluster of bunkers and fescue on both sides. Players can stay short of the bunkers and leave about 160 yards to the green, or hit driver and have a wedge. The approach is to an elevated green that slopes from back to front. Keeping the ball below the hole is critical, much like what you have with Don Ross Designs. So there's a look at a quick hole-by-hole preview of Bethpage Black and the Ryder Cup this year. I'm going to bring up the hole composition chart from the official Ryder Cup website that we just went through. I do not have any estimated proximities because those are normally done per Pro Visualizer, and either the site is down or it's not available anymore, which means I'm going to have to try and find some other source for new courses. However, what we have here, we can definitely take a look at for hole yardages, hole composition chart for the Ryder Cup. 4 par 3s. We do have one short, a 161 yard par 3, a mid-length 179, and then the 2 par 3s on the front 9, holes 3 and 8, both measure at 210. So decent mix lengths of par 3s here. The par 4s, opening 2 holes, are the only ones that measure under 400, not drivable. We have 397 and 389. But we have a good mix of par 4s. We have 3 par 4s over 500 yards. 524, 502, and the Behemoth 539 yard par 4. And we've got a good mix of short and mid-length, mid to long par 4s as well. So no real range, I think, that we're going to want to focus on in terms of par 4s. But we're going to want to look at some pretty long proximities, I would think, considering the 500 plus par 4s, are probably going to demand at least a 175 to 200, if not a 200 plus approach shot, all 3 of these. And then players will have the option on some of these other par 4s to play a bit more conservatively, leave themselves longer approach shots. So we're going to be looking at some longer proximities this week. The 175 to 200, 200 plus is probably where we're going to want to put a lot of our focus in that regard. And then the par 5s, we do have the very short par 5 on the front at 517, and the long par 5 on the back at 608. So there's a look at the whole composition chart from the official Ryder Cup website. Okay. I will keep this up in case we want to take a look at this moving forward. But let's go ahead and jump to Fantasy National. Look at the 24 players that are in the field this week for the Ryder Cup. In case you are not aware of the teams, the 2 teams of 12, the Americans, in alphabetical order by last name, we have Sam Burns, Patrick Cantley, Bryson, Harris English, Ben Griffin, I'll star these. Burns, Cantley, DeChambeau, Harris English, Ben Griffin, Russell Henley, Colin Morikawa, Xander, Scotty Scheffler, J.J. Spawn, Justin Thomas, and Cameron Young are your 12 American players. Quite a bit different than what we had in Rome 2 years ago. Sorry, I'm trying to figure out what filters I want. Good evening, Phil. Thanks for jumping in chat. Much appreciated. Hopefully you've been well. You had a good end to your PGA Tour season, playoffs and all that, and any other wagering endeavor that you have decided to partake in. Hopefully you've had some success. What's the strat for DraftKings this week? I'm going to be honest with you, Phil. I'm not going to do anything with DFS this week. I'm just going to be a pure fan. Watch the Ryder Cup with no betting interest or DFS interest. But I am going to have a pretty fun show, or at least I'm going to have fun with it come Thursday night, giving you my take if I were a captain, or if I were in Keegan's shoes, if I were in Luke Donald's shoes. I don't know. Do they have the Ryder Cup? There's the field. Does this have the pricing? It does. For lack of, again, since I'm not doing DFS this week, it's hard for me to say. I am of the opinion that your captain, you're gonna want to make sure is going to play at least 4 times. So I would be hard pressed to not take somebody like Scotty, somebody like Rory. I'd be hard pressed to believe Jon Rahm isn't going to play 5 times or 4 or 5 times. Victor Hovland maybe. You're gonna need those opportunities for points. You just are. And then beyond that, well, we'll get into it. I'll show you some of the records I'll show you all of the records that these players have from previous Ryder Cups. Because there's a couple players that I wouldn't want any part of, considering I know that they're just not going to play one of the sessions. They just aren't, based on their record in it. So, good question. I wish I could help you out more with that. But since I'm not doing anything with DFS this week, I'm just going to be a pure fan. I'll give you my opinion, but I would take it with a lot of a grain of salt, is how I'll say it. There's your 12 American players that are starred. And then if you are unaware of who the Europeans are bringing along, they have 11 of the same 12 from Rome. The only difference being that Rasmus Højgaard is playing at Bethpage this year. His twin brother Nikolai played at Rome. Literally every other player is the same. So they have the same 12 last names. They're substituting Rasmus for Nikolai. So the European team consists of Ludwig Aubert, Matt Fitzpatrick, Tommy Fleetwood, Tyrrell Hatton, Rasmus Højgaard, Victor Hovland, Shane Lowry, Bobby Mack, Rory, Jon Rahm, Justin Rose, and Sepp Straka. Okay, let's take a quick look at a couple of different things here. We're going to take a look at let's take a look at some of these strokes gained categories, these high level overview things. I'm going to unstar the Americans very, very quickly. Your top performers in 2025 off the tee. This will be the last 36. Now again, Bryson, he only has 14 rounds. Jon Rahm has 16. being on Live, Terrell Hatton. Those are the only three that are going to have limited data due to being on Live. Your top off the tee players for the Ryder Cup in 2025: Scotty, Cameron Young, Bryson, Rory, Ludwig, Patrick Cantlay, JJ Spawn, Colin Morikawa, John Rahm, and Xander are your top 10. Sepp Straka and Rasmus Højgaard are your top half. So you can see 1, 2, 3. Top 3 off the tee, tied top 3. All Americans. That's why the Americans have widened the fairways, really emphasizing the off the tee game. That is generally where the Americans have the advantage. So the top 3, 4 of the top 6, 5 of the top 7, 6 of the top 8, 7 of the top 10 in terms of off the tee are all Americans, or are Americans, not all Americans. Let's see if we want to take a look at. Let's do long courses. I know this course is only 7,350 yards, but being a par 70 is really going to emphasize the length of Bethpage. Your top off the tee players on long courses: Scotty, Bryson, Rory, Ludwig, Xander, Morikawa, JJ Spawn, Cameron Young, Bobby Mack rises into the top 10, Terrell Hatton, Tommy Fleetwood, and Victor Hovland. So the Euros have actually gained quite a bit in terms of off the tee on long courses. Remove that filter. Of course, we're going to take a look at irons. I'm going to click on Scheffler's page here. The Pro Core is not in Fantasy National, so we are missing one tournament of data. But your top iron players at the Ryder Cup in 2025: Scotty, Victor, Sepp Straka, Colin Morikawa, Ben Griffin, Russell Henley, Shane Lowry, Tommy, Terrell Hatton, Patrick Cantlay, JJ Spawn, John Rahm are your top iron players. Putters, I'm going to have to go back a decent amount. We're going to go to 2023. Let's see if I can remember all of the courses. Castle Pines, I believe, was one of the BMW championships that had Bent and Poa annua. Detroit Golf Club, obviously, has Bent and Poa annua. We have Oakdale, Olympia Fields. Let's see. The other two are Silverado. I will click both of those. And TBC River Highlands. Let's apply those course filters. Your top putters on Bent and Poa annua at the Ryder Cup: Rory, Xander, Terrell Hatton, Matt Fitzpatrick, Sam Burns, Tommy, Justin Rose, Harris English, Cameron Young, Scotty, Patrick Cantlay, Bobby Mack, Justin Thomas tied for 12th down here. So there's your top putters on Bent and Poa annua the past 3 years or so. We'll move to actually, let's do a quick look at the course breakdown. We're not going to do too much with the scorecard, considering we looked at the official Ryder Cup site. So this is this is from the 2019 PGA Championship, but it gives us a decent idea how the strokes gained played out for the various top 10s and top 20s and whatnot. Look at your top 10s here. This is a ball striking course. Make no mistake. A lot of emphasis off the tee, quite a bit of emphasis on approach. We move to the top 5s. Again, a lot of emphasis on ball striking. Not a whole lot around the green. You're going to have to need some of it. But putting really starts to be a factor, especially when you go from top 10s to top 5s. And then Brooks, 2019, was excellent in terms of ball striking. Wasn't terrible putting. He was decent around the green, but really it was ball striking. And we'll take a look at the leaderboard here in a little bit. We'll go to that. Your strokes gained by hole by par, I believe. Oh, so this was a par 70. Okay. Interesting. So Brooks, the top 10s really took advantage of the par 5s. Your top 5s, however, look, the par 4s really start to matter. They really start to matter. That's where a lot of these Ryder Cuppers are going to have to be very, very good, particularly in best ball, in 4-ball. And then you'll see Brooks was very good on the par 4s. Not going to do the whole composition approach shot. Again, like I was mentioning, a whole lot of long approach shots, 200 plus, 175 to 200. The cut line was 5 for that PGA Championship. Driving accuracy was less. Green and regulation percentage was less. Again, this was a PGA Championship. They had it set up very, very difficult. It was not easy to scramble here with all the deep bunkers and fescue. 3 putts were high, etc. So I wanted to give you a quick look at that, but didn't want to spend too much time on that. Let's go to fairways and greens. Definitely want to take a look at a couple of things in here, and then we'll take a look and we'll finalize the show with some Ryder Cup statistics. Distance could be a factor. So top distance players: Rory, Xander, Bryson, Rasmus Højgaard, Ludwig, Jon Rahm, Cameron Young, Burns, Griffin, Cantlay, and Hovland. So a lot of the Americans. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 of the 12. I'm going to look at good drives. And I want to look at good drives probably when on long courses. Probably where I'm going to default to that. Your top good drives gained players on long courses: Colin, Tommy Fleetwood, Xander, Sepp Straka, Russell Henley, Spawn, Hatton, Scotty, Shane Lowry, Bryson, Harris English, Victor, and Bobby Mack. Good drive being that the player hits the fairway or player hits the green in regulation from the rough. So, important to do this week at Bethpage Black. Good drives gained. Because alternate shot is a factor for Ryder Cups, we'll take a look at scrambling. Your top scramblers in 2025: Scotty, Tommy, Rory, Russell Henley, Ben Griffin, Matt Fitzpatrick, Sam Burns, Terrell Hatton, J.J. Spawn, Shane Lowry, Bobby Mack, and Justin Thomas. Your top scramblers. Definitely don't want to ignore proximity. Let's do that. We're going to sort on total procs, but our emphasis is here in these two. So somebody like Scotty, first and second. Terrell Hatton. Yes, it is only 8 rounds from the PGA and the U.S. Open, but Terrell Hatton, 6th and 5th. Victor Hovland, 4th and 1st. Sepp, to a lesser extent, just outside the top 10 in both. Xander, just outside the top 10 in both. So, have a lot of focus, probably in the 200 plus, a little bit in the 175 to 200 as well. Let's see. Anything else that I want to cover very, very quickly? Yeah, actually, 3-putt avoidance. Your lag putters. Putting is going to be important, especially on these very, very fast greens. So your top 3-putt avoiders: Sam Burns, Jon Rahm, Justin Thomas, Harris English, Ludwig, Xander, Scotty, Ben Griffin, Spawn, Straka, Bryson, and Shane Lowry. Your top 3-putt avoiders in 2025. Let's take a look at the 2019 PGA Championship. Just very, very quickly, get a feel for what the top end of the leaderboard, what they were very good at that week at Bethpage Black. You can see Brooks was great in all facets, but I mean really, really dominated the field in terms of ball striking. Wasn't the leader off the tee, but you see the top two players, first and second. You had a couple of top tens high up on off the tee. Very, very important facet. Irons, Brooks led the way. Another top 10 from Gary Woodland. Top 3 from Cantlay, very good with the irons. Van Rooyen, Kuchar. Ball striking is really kind of it around Bethpage. Then you got to try to make some putts, which Jordan Spieth made a whole lot of putts that week. He was okay off the tee, negligible with the irons. You know, DJ played very well that week. But like your top putters did pretty well, but it wasn't just because you putt well didn't mean you were going to have a lot of success. Like look at Rob Labritz here, and Kelly Craft, Graham McDowell. You know, they made the cut, but weren't anything special versus these guys who were really good with the irons, with the exception of maybe Henrik Stenson. Molinari didn't seemingly make a putt at all. Stenson couldn't get off the tee apparently in 2019. Joel Damon, that all he did was hit his irons, but he still made the cut. If you were hitting your irons well in 2019 at the PGA Championship at Bethpage, you were going to be at least, you know, moderately in the hunt. And that's what it's about here. A lot of ball striking. A lot of ball striking, especially off the tee. 2. Champ dominated off the tee. Couldn't get around the green, but Corey Connors, a lot of ball striking, fell off with the putter. Wouldn't be too worried about that as long as the guy's in good form, ball striking wise. We'll go fairways and greens, distance. So again, distance is going to matter a decent bit. Glad we looked at distance a little bit this evening. All of your, look at this, of your top 15 players, really only one was significantly negative in terms of distance. So distance going to be a decent factor. Proximity, yeah, look at that, 200 plus. If you were good from 200 plus, you were generally in the mix, generally speaking. So, and Brooks hit the ball so far that maybe some of his 175s fell into the 150 to 175. Look how good he was from there. So you're going to want to focus on your longer iron proximities. With that, I think that's a decent segue, and we'll finish the show off with a pretty detailed spreadsheet here of how the 12 players for each team have fared in previous Ryder Cups. So the Euros, they only have one debutant this week for Ryder Cups. That's Rasmus Højgaard. Otherwise, they are a very, very experienced group in terms of Ryder Cup. Ludwig, he went 2-2 at the 2023 Ryder Cup in Rome. You see that here. You'll see year. You'll see format. So this was, you say, like Friday morning, Friday afternoon, Saturday morning, Saturday afternoon, and then singles. And I've put each of the 12 players across here. So you'll see like Rasmus doesn't have anything across here, but like Fitzpatrick didn't play in the alternate shot format in 2023. Yeah, so the Euros dominated the alternate shot in Rome, at least in the first session, winning all 4 matches. You see the player, who his partner was, the result, who their opponent was. Any player bolded is in this year's Ryder Cup. So, for example, Tommy and Rory defeated Cantlay and Schauffele 2-1. Hatton and Rahm beat Burns and Scheffler 4-3, etc., etc., etc. And then going on down. So we take a look at some of these records here. Aubert did really well in the alternate shot. Only played once in the 4-ball. Lost his singles. He was 2-2. Fitzpatrick has really struggled in Ryder Cups. He went, let's see, he won last year, or I'll say last year, but 2023 Rome with Rory in 4-ball. Lost with Rory in 4-ball. So that was that. And then he has not had much success in foursomes. He has, let's see, he lost with Lee Westwood at Whistling Straits. Lost again with Lee Westwood at Whistling Straits. And then lost with Henrik Stenson. See if I can get this onto the screen. Lost with Henrik Stenson in 2016 in alternate shot. So he's 0-3 in alternate shot. So I think it's safe to say Fitzpatrick isn't going to be playing alternate shot. He didn't play alternate shot in Rome at all. And then you see one with Rory both times in best ball. So Fitzpatrick's kind of locked into 4-ball for the Euros. And you see Fitzpatrick's also struggled in singles, 0-3. Completely winless in singles. So Fitzpatrick's pretty well struggled at Ryder Cups. Tommy, very good record. Part of the famed Mollywood in 2018 that demolished the Americans. 7-3-2, including a sterling, unblemished 4-0 record in alternate shot, in foursomes. 2 of those being with Molinari in 2018, and then foursomes in 2023 in Rome. Rory foursomes. Surprisingly, was not at the 2021 Ryder Cup in Whistling Straits. Tyrrell Hatton, solid 5-3-3. Hovland kind of struggled a little bit, particularly with 4-ball, with best ball, 0-2-2. 2 losses, 2 draws. Lowry's been mediocre, been okay, 2-3-1. Bobby Mack, very good at Rome. 2-0-1, winning his singles, paired with Justin Rose in 4-ball. Tied Wyndham Clark and Max Homa, and then beat Jordan Spieth and Justin Thomas. The 2 stalwarts for the Euros, Rory, an overall record of 16-13-4, 4-2-1 in singles. Justin Rose, 14-9-3, including a 6-2-1 foursomes or alternate shot. So look at this record of alternate shot by the Euros. Amazing. 28-15-2. I mean, just sterling. Like, Aubert, undefeated. It's only 1 Ryder Cup, but undefeated in alternate shot. Tommy, undefeated in alternate shot. John Rahm, undefeated in alternate shot. Rose is 6-2-1 in alternate shot. So despite Fitzpatrick's struggles, they've got several players that will probably help pick up that slack in terms of alternate shot. Now, Bobby Mack did not play any alternate shot in Rome. Sepp Straka didn't play any best ball in Rome. And then in terms of singles, you've got some of the outliers or some of the best and the worst. Fitzpatrick's 0-3. Victor Hovland's 1-0-1. Rory, no surprise, he's been very good at singles. He's 4-2-1. So there's a look at the Euros and how they have fared across their Ryder Cup career. And then for the Americans are much less experienced in terms of overall Ryder Cup performance and experience. We've got 4 debutantes in Ben Griffin, Russell Henley, J.J. Spawn, and Cameron Young. Now, some of these players have played the President's Cup, but I did not bring that over. This is just purely Ryder Cup performance. So, probably the most experienced player, Justin Thomas, who's been pretty darn good in Ryder Cups. 7-4-2. His best has been 4-ball, 2-1-2, including a 3-0 singles record. Patrick Cantlay 2-0 in singles. So both of these players undefeated in singles. Some other notables here. Cantlay has been very, very good in Ryder Cups, going 5-2-1. Most often paired with Xander. But Cantlay did partner with Justin Thomas at Whistling Straits in 4-ball to a draw with Tommy and Victor. Then Cantlay partnered with Wyndham Clark in 2023 in Rome in best ball, beat Rory and Fitz 1-up. So not totally locked in with Xander, but more than likely going to be partnered with Xander majority of the time. For all the talk about Bryson, Bryson's actually been okay. 2-3-1. It's not fantastic, but it's not hideous like Matt Fitzpatrick either. Clearly, Bryson's best format's going to be 4-ball, where he can just be flat out aggressive like he wants to be. Alternate shot or foursomes, he was 0-2. Or he is 0-2. I think I have that backwards. Should be let's see, should be 1-0-1. Okay, that's 4-ball. I'm looking for foursomes. I apologize. Foursome, no. There we go. 2018. Sorry. Let me get this. So he was partnered with Phil. Got crunched by Sergio and Alex Noren 5-4. And then partnered with Tiger and got beat by Mollywood 5-4. So, you can argue maybe Phil wasn't the best partner for him. A little bit of some bad luck there, but clearly not best at foursome. Scotty, not the best at foursomes either, 0-2. So there's a look at the American career records in terms of Ryder Cup experience. 10-4-6, clearly their best is 4-ball. They have really struggled, at least this group of 12 have really struggled in foursomes. 8-13. Not very good. Whereas you can see the Euros, 28-15-2. So clear advantage to the Euros in foursomes. The Americans do have the advantage in singles, at least in terms of record. 8-5-2 versus 11-14-7. And then 4-ball, generally the Americans have had the better time of it. but the Euros have been acceptable, 2020 and 11. So there's a look at some research and some data regarding the Ryder Cup performance for the 24 players at Bethpage this year. I want to thank Phil for jumping in chat. Very much appreciated. Thanks to everyone else out there who tunes in, watches, listens, supports the channel by liking the videos, commenting and subscribing. I always appreciate it. I love what I do. Taking a very in-depth look at golf statistics, giving you a statistician's view of what he sees, trying to help us all win a little bit of money in the process, even though I'm not going to be wagering or playing any DFS this week for the Ryder Cup. I'm just going to be purely a fan. Do tune in Thursday night. It is going to be a very, very fun show. It'll be your chance as the viewer to put your captain's shoes on. Maybe you'll agree with me. You more than likely won't agree with me. But I'm going to put the captain's hat on, or shoes on, if you will, and I'm going to put myself in Luke Donald's position. I'm going to put myself in Keegan Bradley's position. I'll tell you how I would set up the teams for each session and give you my predictions for the week. So thanks again for all the support, for all the wagers you've made during the Pro Tour and leading up to the Ryder Cup, for all the DFS contests you played during the Pro Tour and leading up to the Ryder Cup. And until I see you Thursday night for the Captain's Show, may all your bets be profitable.